France beat Paraguay 1-0 in the World Cup round of 16 on paper, a routine knockout result. But Paraguay committed 12 fouls without receiving a single yellow card. France were shown 3. The match referee was reportedly sent home from the tournament, and L'Équipe rated his performance 1 out of 10. To understand how this became FIFA's biggest officiating disaster, you have to start with what was happening in Philadelphia on July 4th, 2026. July 4th, 2026 brought Philadelphia into the global spotlight. Lincoln Financial Field stood at the center of the city's 250th Independence Day anniversary. It stands packed for a World Cup knockout match between France and Paraguay. A relentless heat wave gripped the city, pushing the temperature to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees Celsius by kickoff. The National Weather Service issued an extreme heat warning, and misting fans ran nonstop as players and supporters alike searched for relief. FIFA's official programs promised fireworks and concerts, but the atmosphere inside the stadium felt more like a pressure chamber than a party. For 90 minutes, the match was less about tactics and more about endurance. Both teams battled not just each other, but the punishing conditions, with hydration breaks and sideline medical checks breaking up the play. In the end, France edged Paraguay 1-0, but the scoreline only hinted at the ordeal each side faced in the Philadelphia furnace. The environment shaped everything that happened next. Ilgiz Tantashev stepped onto the pitch in Philadelphia carrying the authority of FIFA's international referees list. Born in Bukhara, Uzbekistan in 1984, Tantashev had spent over a decade officiating at the highest level since joining FIFA's ranks in 2013. Before this match, his World Cup resume featured 2 group stage assignments, Morocco versus Scotland and the 6-goal thriller between Algeria and Austria. But the France-Paraguay clash marked his first knockout stage appointment on football's biggest stage. For Uzbekistan, his selection was a milestone, placing the country's football officials in the global spotlight. For FIFA, Tantashev's assignment signaled trust in his experience, but also the pressure that comes with leading a high-stakes win-or-go-home contest. As the temperature soared and tempers threatened to follow, every decision would be magnified, every whistle scrutinized. Tantashev's presence in the center circle would soon become as much a part of the story as the players themselves. Paraguay's approach in Philadelphia quickly became clear on the stat sheet. By the end of 90 minutes, they had committed 12 fouls, often breaking up French moves with sharp tactical challenges. Yet referee Ilgiz Tantashev kept his cards in his pocket. Not a single Paraguayan player was cautioned, despite repeated stoppages for rough play. In contrast, France saw 3 of their own booked. Manu Kone's name went into the referee's notebook after a midfield scuffle, and Michael Olise followed for a clash that drew protests from the French bench. Even Barcola picked up a yellow, further tipping the disciplinary balance. The numbers told their own story. 12 fouls by Paraguay, 0 cards, 11 by France, 3 bookings. For many, this was the first concrete sign that match control was slipping. The pattern raised immediate questions about consistency and whether the referee was applying the same standard to both teams. In a match defined by physicality, the uneven response from the officiating crew set the tone for everything that followed. Matias Galarza's actions in Philadelphia left a mark that went far beyond the numbers on the stat sheet. In the first half, with the ball nowhere near, Galarza lashed out with his forearm and caught Kylian Mbappe square in the torso. The contact was clear, yet play continued without a whistle. No foul, no card, not even a warning. Later, Galarza again crossed the line, this time striking Jules Koundé in the back of the head as the French defender tracked a loose ball. Once more, the referee Ilgiz Tantashev kept his cards in his pocket and let play go on. Both incidents were visible to players and to millions watching around the world. Neither drew a stoppage, let alone a booking. For the French squad, these moments weren't just part of a rough game. They were evidence that the rules weren't being enforced. The sense of injustice grew with every unpunished blow, fueling the frustration that would soon boil over on the pitch and in the headlines. In a match already defined by its heat and intensity, the lack of discipline for violent conduct became impossible to ignore. Stoppage time in Philadelphia delivered the moment that defined the sense of injustice for France. Matias Galarza went down in the penalty area, clutching his face after minimal contact with Michael Olise. The referee, Ilgiz Tantashev, saw simulation, but not from Galarza. Instead, Olise was shown the yellow card, a decision that left the French players in disbelief. The diver walked away unpunished while the victim was booked. To those on the pitch and millions watching, it felt as if the rules had been flipped upside down. That single call landed in the middle of a tactical battle that made every whistle matter. Paraguay's five-back formation turned the match into a crowded chessboard, with red shirts blocking every channel. France, usually so fluid, were forced to pass sideways and backwards, searching for any gap. It took more than 20 minutes for them to register a first shot. By the final whistle, they had fired 15 times, with only 5 finding the target. Possession was lopsided. France held the ball for 76% of the match, but found no breakthrough from open play. Paraguay's plan nearly worked, and in such a tightly controlled contest, every decision that went against France felt magnified. The sense of being punished for trying to play, while disruptive tactics went unchecked, fueled a controversy that would echo far beyond the final whistle. The breakthrough arrived in the 70th minute when Desiree Doué darted into the penalty area and Diego Gomez stepped across his path. Doué tumbled, but referee Ilgiz Tantashev let play run on. For a few tense seconds, the stadium held its breath as French players pleaded and Paraguay scrambled to clear. Then the signal came from the VAR booth. Tantashev jogged to the monitor, eyes fixed on the replay. The review dragged on, every angle dissected. When he turned back, arm raised and pointed to the spot, the reaction was instant. French relief, Paraguayan outrage. As the referee prepared the penalty, Paraguay's defenders converged on the spot, scraping their boots across the turf, leaving marks in the grass. It was a last-ditch effort to tilt the odds. Kylian Mbappe stood over the ball, unfazed by the chaos or the scuffed penalty spot. Orlando Gil, Paraguay's goalkeeper, danced on his line, trying to get inside Mbappe's head. The whistle blew. Mbappe took his run and sent Gil the wrong way, burying the ball in the back of the net. France finally led, but the uproar was only beginning. The penalty did more than decide a match. It turned a simmering debate over fairness into a full-blown controversy, with every decision now under the microscope and the sense of injustice reaching its peak. Kylian Mbappe's penalty in Philadelphia was more than a match winner. It was another entry in a record book that keeps growing. With his 7th goal of the 2026 World Cup, Mbappe pulled even with Lionel Messi in the Golden Boot race, setting up a showdown for the tournament's top scorer. The tally also pushed his career World Cup total to 19 goals in just 19 matches, leaving him a single strike behind Messi's all-time record of 20. It was his 11th knockout stage goal, the most in World Cup history, and made him the first player ever to score in the round of 16 at 3 consecutive tournaments. In a match dominated by controversy, Mbappe's numbers stood out as a reminder of his enduring impact on football's biggest stage. Tempers snapped as the final whistle echoed across Lincoln Financial Field. In the center circle, players from both sides converged, voices raised and bodies tense. Paraguay's goalkeeper, Orlando Gil, stormed toward the French huddle and hurled the ball squarely at Kylian Mbappe's back. The act set off a brief melee, with teammates pulling rivals apart before things could spiral further. Later, Gil admitted, "I lost my temper," a rare moment of candor in the aftermath. Mbappe, unfazed, fired back in interviews, saying France can get our hands dirty too. The bitterness that simmered throughout the match had spilled over, leaving no sense of closure, only lingering resentment and the promise of more heated battles to come. L'Équipe delivered a blunt verdict on Ilgiz Tantashev's performance, handing him a 1 out of 10, an assessment rarely seen at this level. The outcry didn't stop there. Former referees in the media called the outcome a professional dead end, with Keith Hackett remarking that after such a display, a referee is effectively on the plane home. Reports soon circulated that Tantashev had been sent home from the 2026 World Cup, yet FIFA has not issued any official statement confirming a suspension or disciplinary action. The governing body's silence has only deepened the sense of unresolved controversy. While the debate over officiating standards rages on, France's focus now shifts to the quarterfinal against Morocco at Gillette Stadium on July 9th. The shadow of Philadelphia lingers, raising the question, was this just poor refereeing or a major embarrassment for FIFA on the world stage? Today, a single match exposes how officiating lapses can overshadow the game itself, no matter the stakes. FIFA's silence leaves questions hanging as public trust in fair play faces real scrutiny. When the world is watching, transparency isn't an option. It's the minimum standard. What do you think? Is football's credibility at risk?